It started on a peaceful Saturday morning. I was sitting on my porch, sipping coffee, and enjoying the weekend calm when a white HOA vehicle pulled up in front of my driveway. A man in a blue polo shirt with the HOA logo stepped out, clipboard in hand. His tone was polite, but his presence immediately made my stomach drop. "Good morning, Mr. Brooks," he said. "We received a complaint about a disturbance at your property." I blinked. A disturbance? From who? He didn't need to answer. My eyes drifted across the street. There she was. Karen. Standing with arms crossed, oversized sunglasses on. Lips pursed tighter than a bank vault. My neighbor had been the unofficial, self-appointed ruler of our cul-de-sac. Ever since the HOA elected her as community liaison. Basically, she made everyone miserable. The patrol officer cleared his throat. "Apparently, there was loud noise from your garage last night around 10 p.m. Multiple residents complained." I laughed in disbelief. "That's ridiculous. I was fixing my son's bike, no music, no shouting, just tools." He scribbled something on his clipboard. "Regardless, we need to issue a written warning. Please keep noise levels down after 9 p.m. Karen smirked from across the street. I could almost hear her whisper, "Gotcha." Later that day, I received an official email from the HOA. It didn't just warn me, it accused me of being disruptive and disrespectful to community standards. I couldn't believe it. I fired off a response with security camera footage showing I hadn't made any noise violations. But the HOA didn't care. They simply said, the complaint was verified. Verified? By who? Karen's imagination. By Monday, word had spread around the block. Neighbors avoided eye contact. Karen strutted around like she'd won some war. My wife told me to just let it go. But something in me refused to bow down to her false accusations. That evening, I noticed Karen filming me from her porch while pretending to water her plants. That's when I realized, this wasn't about noise. This was personal. She wanted to humiliate me, to make me submit publicly. But she had no idea, I wasn't backing down this time. 2 days after the warning, I received a letter stamped with the HOA's official seal. It read, "You are required to attend a community compliance hearing regarding multiple reports of hostile behavior and rule violations. Failure to appear may result in fines or community penalties." Hostile behavior. Multiple reports. Karen was clearly pulling strings behind the scenes. That Thursday evening, I walked into the community clubhouse, where the hearing was taking place. It felt less like a meeting and more like a courtroom. 5 HOA board members sat at a long table, papers stacked in front of them. At the center sat Mr. Daniels, the HOA president, a man with a permanent frown and a tie too tight for comfort. Karen was already there, seated proudly in the front row, pretending to look innocent. I could feel her satisfaction radiating from across the room. Mr. Daniels cleared his throat. "Mr. Brooks, we've received repeated complaints regarding disruptive activity at your residence and confrontational behavior toward HOA members." I took a deep breath. "With all due respect, sir, those complaints are false. I have security footage proving that there was no noise violation. No confrontation, nothing." Karen suddenly raised her hand like a schoolteacher. "Excuse me, Mr. President," she said sweetly. "I personally witnessed Mr. Brooks yelling from his garage late at night. It wasn't just noise, it was aggressive. My son couldn't sleep." Her words were dripping with false concern. I clenched my fists under the table. I wasn't yelling, I shot back. I was fixing a bike chain. I didn't even raise my voice. One of the board members sighed. "Regardless, perception matters. Mr. Brooks, your actions disturbed a fellow homeowner. Perception. Not facts, just perception." Mr. Daniels leaned forward. "We've decided the best way to resolve this is with a community apology. You'll make a short statement at our next Neighborhood gathering, just to clear the air. My jaw dropped. You want me to apologize publicly for something I didn't do? It's the simplest way to restore harmony, he said. Otherwise, we'll have to issue a fine and probationary review. Karen smiled like a cat that had cornered its prey. She wanted to see me humiliated, standing before my neighbors, admitting guilt that wasn't mine. I walked out of that clubhouse burning with anger. If they wanted a public apology, they'd get one, but not the way they expected. The day of the neighborhood gathering arrived, a Saturday afternoon filled with folding chairs, lemonade stands, and gossip that buzzed through the air like static. The HOA had turned the event into a full community affair, complete with banners that read, "Unity and respect in our neighborhood." I wasn't interested in unity. I was interested in justice. As I stood off to the side, I could see Karen surrounded by her little circle of followers, pretending to be the peacemaker. She spotted me and whispered something to one of the ladies, who immediately looked my way and shook her head disapprovingly. They all expected me to grovel, to make a public display of submission. The HOA board sat behind a small table near the stage. Mr. Daniels waved me over. "Mr. Brooks," he said, "let's keep this brief and civil. Just acknowledge the misunderstanding and apologize. That should end this." "Sure," I said, forcing a smile. "Brief and civil. Got it." When they handed me the microphone, the chatter died down. Every eye turned toward me. I could feel the weight of their judgment pressing down like a storm cloud. "Good afternoon," I began calmly. "Apparently, I caused quite a bit of trouble in this neighborhood." Karen smiled smugly. "I've been accused of being loud, aggressive, and disrespectful," I continued. "But before I apologize, I'd like to thank the person who made all this possible, Karen." Her smile faded instantly. "Yes, Karen," I said, turning toward her. "Thank you for caring so much about my garage activity, that you called the HOA patrol for me, fixing a bike. You truly embody the spirit of community surveillance." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Karen's face turned bright red. I went on, "If being a good neighbor means being silent, never fixing anything, and living in fear of false accusations, then I guess I owe everyone here an apology. So, I'm sorry for not being perfect. I'm sorry for thinking we were all adults capable of resolving small misunderstandings without theatrics." Now even some of Karen's friends were smirking. The board members exchanged awkward glances. Karen jumped to her feet. "This is outrageous. He's mocking the HOA." Mr. Daniels sighed. "Mr. Brooks, that's enough." I handed back the mic. "Oh, I'm done." The crowd clapped lightly, not for the HOA, but for me. I turned to leave, catching Karen's furious glare. I thought it was over. But by nightfall, I learned just how far Karen was willing to go for revenge. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of a knock, sharp, deliberate, and angry. I opened the door to find two HOA patrol officers standing there again. One held a folder. The other looked almost apologetic. "Mr. Brooks," the taller one said, "we've received new complaints of vandalism and harassment, directed at Ms. Karen Miller." I blinked. "What? You can't be serious. She claims you damaged her garden fence last night and left a threatening note on her porch." I almost laughed. "You think I'd risk getting fined over a fence? Check my security footage." He hesitated. "We'll need to review it, yes." They followed me to my computer, where I pulled up the footage. The time-stamped video showed exactly what happened. At 10:43 p.m., Karen herself was outside, dragging a trash can across her yard, bumping it into her own fence, then pretending to inspect it like it was freshly broken. At 10:50, she walked toward her porch and placed a note on it herself. The patrol officers exchanged stunned looks. "She planted the evidence," one muttered. "This is bad." "Oh, it gets better," I said, rewinding the footage to show her. Camera pointed directly at my house. She'd left it recording all night, probably hoping to catch me doing something wrong. They took copies of the footage and left to follow up with the board. Within hours, the neighborhood was buzzing again, but this time, Karen was the subject. By evening, I received a call from Mr. Daniels himself. His tone was noticeably softer. "Mr. Brooks, after reviewing your evidence, the board has determined that Ms. Miller's claims were fabricated. The HOA does not condone false reporting. So what happens now?" I asked. "She's been suspended from all community roles for 6 months. And we owe you an apology, publicly." That weekend, the HOA released an official statement clearing my name and condemning false accusations. I didn't attend their meeting. I didn't need to. I watched from my porch as Karen sat there, stone-faced, while Mr. Daniels addressed the crowd about integrity and honesty. Some neighbors stopped by later to say they were sorry for believing her. Others just nodded respectfully for the first time in months. As for Karen, she couldn't even look at me anymore. Her once perfect reputation had collapsed under her own lies. I smiled to myself, taking a slow sip of coffee on my porch again, exactly where it all started. Peace, at last.